Theoretically, city cars like our Hyundai Inster here are the perfect format to be fully electrified. Lightweight and therefore requiring a smaller battery, they're both resource and space efficient. But after spending 3 months with this one here, do I really think the Inster can stack up against its much more affordable rivals? And do I think you could have one of these as an only car, or is it best relegated to duties as a second car? Well, stick with me to see what I found out.
Now yes, the Inster isn't cheap. It starts from around $39,000 before on-road costs, but the one we've got here is $3.5 grand more expensive, which gets you into the long-range battery. At this price though, it's true, you could almost be getting into some seriously impressive mid-size family metal, like a base model version of the ever-popular RAV4, or even a hybrid Hyundai Tucson inside Hyundai's own stable. For the money, you get some respectable kit, with the Insta scoring 17-inch alloy wheels, full LED lighting all round, and a matching 10.25-inch digital dash and multimedia screen, which will be familiar from other Hyundai models. The extended range version has a halfway decent battery for such a small car too, granting it a 360-kilometre range according to the WLTP standard.
Even in profile here, it looks like a shrunken down version of the Ioniq 5, which I think is quite cool, but this is one of the most divisive long-termers I've ever run when it comes to showing it to people. Everyone I've either shown it to or who's had a ride in it has been completely divided down the middle. They either really love it or they really hate it, and it comes down to all the crazy features that this one in particular has, like this matte paint finish, the kind of wheels that look like medieval weapons, and then there's all the pixel light fittings that are sort of slotted into this, gloss finish plastic. It is a lot to take in, and it's not going to be for everyone.
And that's before you hop inside, where you're greeted with this houndstooth brown interior trim, as well as an array of different textures and materials, although most of them are hard plastics. It's all sorts of fun, but again, divisive on the styling front.
Now, you may have noticed by now that the Insta's interior looks and feels a little old school compared to some of its Chinese contemporaries with their huge screens, but I actually think that this is one of this car's biggest advantages. It's almost refreshing to sit in a car that has a full array of dials and buttons and a touchscreen which is modest and just doesn't interfere with the whole experience of driving the car. That having been said, Hyundai's software is still one of the best on the market, not because it does the most, but because it's one of the easiest suites to use. Another thing in the interior here is these clever bench-style seats, which are also on other Hyundai Group vehicles like the Kia EV5. They're really quite adjustable. You've got fully manual adjust, but with a nice amount of range of motion, and it's really easy to find a nice ergonomic position to sit in, which can't be said for a lot of this car's rivals. When it comes to practicality, this car is so narrow that you just don't get much room in the doors for anything. There's a little slot down there, but it could only really hold like paper or maybe like a laptop or iPad at a stretch. But then down the center here, you do get a few extra areas for storage. There's no center console box. You only get this little dipping armrest thing and 2 cup holders underneath. That does have a weird quirk, because this smaller cup holder, which doesn't quite hold our bottle, you'll notice you can't close the armrest either, which can be an issue for if you've got a taller bottle, 600 mils or above, I'd say. Then as you work your way down the console here, there are some other things to think about. There's a wireless charger up here, which is rubberized, quite clever, so your phone just doesn't leave the spot when you steer around corners like it can in some cars. And then underneath here, there's your storage bay, which sort of serves as that kind of equivalent to a console box you might get in a wider car. It's not very big, it is very plasticky, things slide around in there, and unfortunately your Apple CarPlay is wired, so you'll need to shove your phone down there as well while you're using it, and I find that my phone actually moves around a fair bit down there. You can come up with other solutions for that, but that's just a quirk that I found. The other thing that this car has is a full-size power outlet down on the floor there, so you can actually utilize this massive battery that it's got under the floor and power external devices. That's super clever. Shall we go have a look at the back seat? Okay, in the back seat, you might be surprised to see how much room I have. I'm 182 centimeters tall and I fit okay back here. That's behind my own driving position. And I do have a little bit of knee room here. Plenty of room for my feet too, because the floor is perfectly flat, this being an electric platform, and plenty of room for my head as well, because that boxy roofline is so high and almost wagon-like. There is some drawbacks to this space though. Yes, I have quite an amount of width here because this is just a 4-seater, worth thinking about if it's going to be an only car. But, you know, for a full-size adult, yeah, okay, you've got a nice amount of room for your arms in such a small car, but there is no storage back here. So there's nothing on the backs of these seats. There's no drop-down armrest. There's no storage for bottles between here. So I'm stuck with my bottle with nowhere to put it, which is a shame. There's also no storage in the doors. There's like sort of a large, I guess, grab hold for closing the door, which you could probably put a phone in. And there is a small slot like there is in the front doors for, I don't know, documents or an iPad or something. But that really is about it. But surely you're thinking, having all this space for an adult in the backseat of a car like this means you get no boot space. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Let me show you.
Usually, and if you wanted space for someone like me in the rear seat, the boot is tiny, only fitting the smallest CarsGuide case with ease. But thanks to a rail system, which is common on Asian city cars, but comparatively rare on small hatchbacks delivered to Australia, you can expand the boot to accept even the largest of our cases with room to spare. The floor also folds completely flat when the rear seats are down, and then there's space beneath the boot floor for charging cables and your vehicle to load adapter. Sadly, there's no spare to be seen.
Okay, key specs under here. See the power figures on your screen now. Doesn't sound like a lot because it's not. In fact, this car's 0 to 100 sprint time is not impressive, but because it's got electric instant torque, that 0 to 60 sprint time is better. It means you can still outrun combustion clunkers at the lights. Unfortunately, because the Insta is front wheel drive, there's no frunk under here either. It's all just cables and stuff. Now, this long range version of the Insta scores a 49 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that grants it a 360 kilometre driving range according to the WLTP standard. Here's the thing though, I've been getting way more than that in my time with the car, even range testing it. I get about 420 Ks. How can this be? Well, because it's so lightweight, every little bit of efficiency change makes a huge difference. And because I've been driving this car primarily as a second car, mainly around town, it's been doing really well.
Based on my freeway testing though, it will get much closer to that range claim with a bit more open road as part of the mix.
Now, the strange thing is though, this car actually got crashed into while I had it. And I spent a couple of weeks with a short range version of this car instead. And I actually didn't miss the extra range. Let me explain why.
On paper, the difference between the two grades is only about 33 kilometers of extra range, but in real life it's closer to 100 because this long range one has proven to be so efficient. I think this is because I've been driving both of these cars almost exclusively in urban conditions where it takes a while to cover those 300 or so kilometers. I can't even charge at home, and I didn't even really notice the extra time I've taken to charge on the short range car because it also charges pretty quickly. You get 11 kilowatts of peak charging speed on AC, so even on a slow charger, it will top up in just a handful of hours. Meanwhile, on a DC fast charger, the claim is 120 kilowatts, but I've never seen anything close to that. It seems to top out at around 80 kilowatts, which for a battery this size will still deliver a 10 to 80% charge in just over half an hour.
You might be surprised how nice the Hyundai Insta is to drive. While it's got that kind of cheap, light city car kind of vibe to it, it sort of feels anything but once you get behind the wheel. It's surprisingly quiet, the steering feels surprisingly sophisticated, not light and basic. And on top of that, the ride is pretty good too. It doesn't have that like harsh, brittle kind of ride that a lot of small cars tend to have. I think that's down to Hyundai kind of designing this car more like it designs the rest of its electric car range. It really does feel really homogeneous with other larger electric Hyundais like the Ioniq 5. And I think that was the biggest surprise for me driving this car. I really did think that it couldn't live up to that standard that Hyundai has set for itself with its other electric cars. And I'm really pleased that this car has. And you'd almost hope so given how expensive this car is. It has other positive traits too, even for this segment. Because it's got a hatchback kind of layout, but SUV traits about it, the visibility out of the cabin is also really good. It's got this kind of glass house, boxy kind of windowscape in front of you, and that makes it really easy to see everywhere. It even kind of feels a little bit like you're not going to be crushed by every other car on the road like you can in some city-sized hatchbacks that sit a little lower than this thing. So I really like that about it, but it does have a couple of little quirks, like the rear vision mirror sits quite close to the touchscreen. So where that camera is sitting right now, there's a little bit of a visibility impairment, especially when you're sort of facing this car down a hill. So you have to kind of peer around your rear vision mirror, which is a small irritation. When it comes to handling, there are a few interesting things. This car handles pretty damn well actually, because the battery obviously adds a lot of weight to what would otherwise be an extremely light car. And that makes it grab onto corners surprisingly well. But it does mean when you reach a few undulations in the road, you can be caught out and that weight can start moving around a fair bit. That having been said, this is definitely a cut above almost every other city car I've driven before. Now with those big medieval weapon wheels that come on this extended range version, there is an impact to ride quality. When I was driving the short range version of this car, I much preferred the comfort and extra little bit of quietness that came from the smaller wheel and tire package. So I'd say if you are just driving this car around rough city streets, probably opt for that standard range version. When it comes to tires, the Nexen ones fitted to this extended range version of the Insta are fine. I haven't had any problems with them, and they combine quite nicely with Hyundai's quite clever traction management and the way that this car actually deploys its power to the front wheels to never make it feel like you're going to spin those front wheels. And that's important because a lot of EVs don't quite get that right. You can end up in a situation where you've actually got too much power and it's really easy to overwhelm those front wheels, especially when it's wet or when you're facing uphill at the lights. And yet there's still enough power here to outrun those combustion clunkers, so that's great. But the advantage to these Hyundai Group EVs don't end there. You also get several levels of really good regenerative braking, as well as a single pedal drive mode, which is really nice to use. So overall, when it comes to the drive experience, the Insta feels like it's punching way above its weight, just physically, and it helps justify some of that price point.
Despite packing a whopping 7 airbags into this tiny space and ticking all the usual safety boxes, the Insta only has a 4-star ANCAP rating, which the safety body said was largely due to its structure just being okay in the event of a serious collision.
When it comes to active safety, it can be a massive deal breaker for a lot of cheaper Chinese EVs. They just have such invasive suites. But that's not to say that this Hyundai one isn't flawed. Thankfully, the lane keep assist, which can occasionally be a little bit heavy-handed, is quite easy to turn off. You just hold down a button on the steering wheel. But I've also had occasional annoyances from things like the driver attention alert and the traffic sign recognition, which is another one of those systems that can frequently pick up the wrong speed from things that you drive past, road signs that aren't on the road that you're on, or off the back of buses, etc. It's by far not one of the worst systems I've used, but it is worth factoring into your considerations. Now, on the ownership front, you get 5 years and unlimited kilometers of warranty by default on the whole car, which is now extendable to 7 years if you keep servicing with Hyundai. The high voltage components get their own warranty, which is 8 years and 160,000 kilometers.
Services are only required once every 2 years or 30,000 Ks, but they are surprisingly pricey at $670 each, until you get to the 10-year and 150,000 K mark, where you're stung with an even pricier $970 visit.
The Hyundai Insta really is a car that you buy with your heart rather than your head. It really is too expensive at this end of the market to be a value buy, and physically it's just not a lot of car. It feels like it's more expensive for a reason though. It really does feel like a shrunken down Ioniq 5 rather than a cheap city car which is built to a budget. And it ticks a lot of boxes for features and things for a car in a full segment up. As to who it'll suit, well, I really think it is ideal as that second car. Perfect for those emissions-free trips down to the shops or parking on tight city streets. But for anyone thinking of braving it as an only car, I would really recommend you do splurge for this long-range version. What do you think? Is the appeal of the Insta just too niche? Would you buy one if it cost less? Are you going to buy an Atto 1 instead? Tell us in the comments below, and remember to check out all 3 of our long-term chapters for this car over at carsguide.com.au.